Hey everybody, these things get edited a couple of days after they're recorded. Everybody's sick today. We get what we get. Let's go. Edward, how was your Christmas?
It was fantastic. Probably one of the best I've ever had.
That's good to hear. Well, Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone. That came out a little quick. Had a recent road trip that not a lot of my buddies back home know. I was in my hometown of Moore. I delivered a couple of those contest winners, some cups. Some people back home won those, the coffee mugs, and took in the sights of Moore, Oklahoma.
How committed are you as a podcast host to go back and hand deliver merchandise to your fans, your listeners?
I mailed a lot of those from Moore.
Oh, okay.
Especially Norman when I was down there.
Oh, that's great.
You know, they got a local postmark, and I think probably my sister's return address.
Those cups are outstanding.
Yeah, that turned out well. I was glad to do that. Got another contest coming up that's I'm very proud of. It's pretty neat, and there'll be details coming about that soon.
Well, can you just share a little something?
Remember the red cups that they had at Pizza Hut?
Yes.
Giving a set of those away.
Oh.
If we're going to do a Gen X show, while you're eating your book award mini pizza and guzzling your suicides with that, I think that we need to save those cups for posterity before they're all gone. And I got a set ready to go out.
Brilliant.
I haven't announced that yet, so breaking news here.
This is good stuff. I mean, Merry Christmas to all of us.
Yes. I wanted to keep them, but I'm a giver.
So tell me what it's like going back to Oklahoma.
I'm going to tell you something. Every square centimeter of that town is a ghost. Like, I have memories of every corner of that place.
Like what?
Oh, man. Well, first of all, 12th Street, it was a big cruising area when I was in high school. I've got an entire podcast episode about that very thing coming up. It's sadly, it looks like it did in the 80s, except it's a few decades older and not kept up. I was disappointed by that, but commerce section of the town has moved south towards Norman, and it makes sense. It's kind of a low rent district now. Frankly, it really was back then. But, when the city fathers chase away dollars on the weekends, that place was hopping. And, the local restaurants and Sonic and all the places on the strip there were making money. Just all they had to do was put up with some teenagers congregating and spending their money there. It seemed like a weird battle to pick. I'm sure the merchants didn't mind it at all.
So what was as a high schooler in that area in the 80s, what would be a typical evening for someone from that area?
That was Mecca. In my hometown, I had buddies from, and I'm going to get real local here, Edmond and Newcastle and Midwest City. High school kids from all over would show up in my hometown because I don't know why. It was a popular strip. Turn around at 12th Street Park and head out, turn around somewhere around Santa Fe and go back the other way and spend 2 hours going 4 miles, maybe. It was
did people pretty much, behave themselves, or was there bad things happening?
Yeah, it was absolutely harmless. A little bit of drinking going on, and not even much of that. It was just a good time. There wasn't much hijinks going on there at all.
Yeah, I remember back in the 80s, growing up when, if there was some teenage drinking going on, the cops, I mean, today, if you're a teenager and that happens, you're going to jail. Back then, most of the time, the cops knew your parents or knew someone around you, and they would scare you. Hey, you shouldn't be doing that, and don't let me find you again, or I'll let Ed and Nancy know, and they'll take care of it. Like,
well,
okay.
there was none of that. The cops, particularly out there, just started. They were kind of hard asses about that stuff, and
Ooh.
they're the new. That's one of the things that showed up the most. There's this huge new city building in the old downtown on Broadway. And I was talking to my buddy I played ball with, I grew up with, a guy named Brandon Brock, and he joked that he and I paid for that place with all the tickets we got in high school.
Oh gosh.
Like I should have like a memorial brick out there with my name in it. But they would always like tag the football guys out there. I remember the coach saying one day, if this town ever goes broke, there needs to be an investigation because kids were always having to leave to go to traffic court. Wink. Probably most of them, did. So that was weird. Junior league football, I guess, is essentially gone. There's a 12th Street Park. It's all baseball fields now. I don't think there's any. I didn't see any football fields out there. And I talked to a guy. I've got an episode about junior league football back in the 80s. And I talked to the coordinator of the league now. And it's so different. It's like 7-on-7 and travel ball, and just the whole soul of that thing was ripped out. When I was a kid, each elementary school had their own team, and they played each other within the city. And it was just so cool. And so by the time we got to middle school, we all knew each other, and then we wore the same uniform, and it was unifying, and it was cool. And that's a shame that that's gone.
How big is Moore?
I think it's like 70,000.
Okay.
Bedroom community, connects Oklahoma City and Norman. It exploded in growth when the oil boom in the late 70s and early 80s, and then General Motors opened up close, like on the highway, and so they were building houses left and right.
How far is Moore from Oklahoma City and Norman?
89th Street turns into Oklahoma City from Moore, and I don't know, Norman, maybe Rock Creek or Tecumseh, Indian Hills, somewhere south of Moore, north of Norman, kind of become one cow pasture, and then the signs change color. I'm not sure where, but it's
basically they're all connected then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one town, really.
Not being from there, I'm just trying to get some clarity.
I gotcha. I think one of the stark things that showed up was Crossroads Mall. When I was a kid, even through high school, it was, especially at Christmas, it was just beautiful inside, decorated beautifully, and picture the mall from Fast Times.
Oh yeah.
Couple of levels, restaurants, kids everywhere, great arcade, anchor stores, busy as could be, and it was just so pretty. And now it's empty. I think it was foreclosed. I think part of it is, I think I mentioned this before, I think part of it is a high school of all things. Like on the end of it, it was sad. It like not like, oh, that's a sad looking building. Like it like evoked something in me. Like, oh my gosh, man. They blamed Walmart in the 90s. And I think there's probably some truth to that. And then Amazon's just kind of put the final nail in that.
Yeah, right. Did they have a Spencer's in that mall?
They had, where else am I going to get novelty rubber dog crap? Of course they had a Spencer's.
Oh, that's the best.
Are you kidding? Like, yeah. T-shirts that look like tuxedos. You can't just get those at Dillard's.
No, you have to go to Spencer's.
Right. They had, I hear that the arcade there had a go-kart track, an indoor go-kart track. I don't remember that. It must have been before me, but it was just so full of arcade games. It was loud. They had that movie theater styled carpet in there. It was 2 levels. So cool. Bricktown. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, when you went back, were you filled with like feelings of nostalgia, or were you filled with feelings of sadness, or both?
I really was. There was nothing sad about it at all. The high school looks great. The sports facilities are incredible. They've done such a great job there. And there's new buildings. there's 3 high schools in the city now. The one that I went to, the original one, is kind of landlocked between, they got to build up because they can't build out because there's a science pond on one side and streets on the other, and then neighborhood. And so it's just kind of it's stuck there. But great big stadium. Baseball field looks great. Freaking indoor practice football facility now.
No,
ant hills and rocks and those stickers when we were playing, like out
in
there
the
practicing.
wind,
Yes,
in the heat.
in August, and now they're in shorts jogging around. Get a mister on them, and all right, I guess
That's not fair.
different world. Yeah, I bet you none of those kids heard "rub some dirt on it, get over there" ever. Salt tablet.
Mm.
So the old. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, were you able to connect with any friends from high school or middle school, or while you were there?
No, I wasn't there very long, and so I stuck some cups in some mailboxes. That's not funny. That's a federal offense. I didn't pay postage. I stuck them in their mailbox and scrammed, and I feel bad. I'll tell you what's a weird deal. There was a business that liked the Free Nights and Weekends Facebook page early on, and I went to their site, and it's just funny. Like, the posts are funny, and the owner, and so I thought, you know what? They commented on the site, and that was the rule. I said, to win this contest, simply comment on the Facebook page. I compiled all of them and was just going to draw some names. And this business was one of them. I thought, you know what? They've commented routinely. So I drove out to another business in another suburb of Oklahoma City. Look up this name. I want to get it right. I want to give them a plug. Hold, please.
Do you need some Jeopardy music while we're waiting?
If I could.
No, I can't do it in time. It'd take too long.
We'll have to play King World Syndicate.
That's oddly specific.
Yeah.
I think if you do under 10 seconds, you don't have to pay royalties.
Spikes.
Oh, wait. I can't get it to go.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
All right.
You could edit that out.
Count on that. Spiked snow cone to go. Let me try this once again. Spiked snow to go frozen daiquiris of Midwest City.
Lord.
Yeah, it just rolls off the tongue.
Is it a drive-through?
It has a drive-through, yeah.
Oh,
you can drive through, get liquored up, and hit the road, man.
So now they could actually take. So I know they have those in Louisiana.
Yeah.
So they could take their Free Nights and Weekends cup and just put it under the spigot and just go all day while they're working there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're a good man, Scott.
The orders are going to get a little sloppy, but you know what? You went to a drive-through daiquiri place. I don't know if precision is your gig.
No, it's not. They just want a cheap, fast buzz.
So I took them the cup, and this real nice lady said, "Oh, well, thank you. My husband does all the social media stuff." And I thought, okay, very cool. There you go. Thanks for listening, and have a swell day. And so I took off, and then later that afternoon, I get a Facebook message from a dude I went to the 5th grade with that owns that place.
No way.
Yes. Remember the episode we did about the Christian school and more?
Oh yeah. Who could forget that?
It's where I met this kid. I think his mom was a secretary there at the school. I don't know why I think that. Maybe not.
And I'm sure that the administrators of that Christian school were just hoping that one of their kids would go on to be the owner of a frozen daiquiri drive-through place.
I'll tell you something. If I'm on the staff at that school, I'm his biggest customer. Good Lord. So that was weird. Like, and it took me legitimately like 5 minutes to put 2 and 2 together, even though the man was telling me what was what. Hey, you met my wife. Wait, what do you mean? What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. So he said, thanks for the cup. What are you talking about? And then it's from his personal address. And he shows me a picture of the cup where it was on the counter. And you own that place? Yeah. I thought that's why you came by. No, I came by because, yeah, never mind. I was freaked out by that. And he wasn't. He was like, Scott, why are you freaking out by this? I own a business and my buddy has a podcast. I don't think that's uncommon. But yeah, threw me for a loop.
Nice.
Hey everyone, real quick break. Wherever you download your podcast, there's a hyperlink that says send us a text. Hit it up, show ideas, comments about previous shows. Just stay in touch. Also, be sure to listen to the very end of these things. There's show notes at the end, bloopers, extra things, contest announcements, whatever. Hang around. Back to it.
Anyone else that you ran into while you were there?
I did not. I made a couple, like I said, I made some drive-bys to some mailboxes. I asked them for addresses before when I said, they won one of the very handsome Free Nights and Weekends coffee mugs.
Are those available on your merch page?
They are not.
Okay.
One day they will be. And hoodies, hand warmers, coasters, license plate, frames, Christmas ornaments, napkins, collector's plates,
dog collars.
Yes, they'll all be available.
Nice.
Beanies.
And then no one will have to worry about Christmas gifts ever again.
Ever.
Just go to your merch page and people,
and they start giving those, they won't have to worry about having friends or people coming over or, because they'll think, oh, fantastic, I got a podcast cap.
I think we just solved all the world's problems by you just getting a merch site on your website.
Family heirloom. So other than that, it was a very quick trip. Downtown Oklahoma City was staggeringly beautiful. That place is polished up. When we moved to Oklahoma, it was a dirty little oil town. And my goodness, it's beautiful.
And now they got the Oklahoma Thunder.
They do. Other than that, Moore's not changed a whole lot, which I was grateful for. Broadway, Main Street, still a quaint little town, still a great place to live, I'm sure. Mom and Dad still buried out there on 4th Street, the cemetery.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
They haven't been moved?
Well, you laugh, but that cemetery was just wrecked with an F5 tornado. So luckily they survived it. Headstone's still there, so we're good to go.
Now, when you go back, do you go to the cemetery to visit their graves?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You still hear my mom upset about towels on the bathroom floor.
Yeah.
I
do the same thing. When I go home to Ohio, I will go out to the cemetery and I'll have a little conversation with Mom and Dad. And I know that in the Christian world that they're not at that location, but I don't know. It's just a comforting thing for me to take out some flowers and have a slight little conversation and say, hey, and then move on.
No doubt. No, there's something, I think there's something to that. Well, the old neighborhood, and I know this is an old trope. Well, it's a rundown. It's not. I think my parents' generation are starting to pass away and younger families are moving in and they're polishing up the place. And it actually, it looks better than it did last time I was there. I was very pleased to see that.
Oh, so you drove. You went by your old house?
Oh yeah. Wow. How could you not? drove by the fence that my dad and I had to repair after one of the tornadoes. I think my brother and he did it after one of the others. Still propped up. I'm sure that Chinese throwing star is still in my neighbor's backyard.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really neat. It was heartening to see young families in some of those houses, and toys in the yard in my old house. Like that, just life goes on. That was great to see.
Now, do you have a lot of friends that never left Moore that have spent their entire lives there?
Yeah, I do. That they spread out a little bit. They're in Oklahoma City and surrounding areas, but a lot of them stayed.
So, what is the thing that makes Oklahoma an enticing place to live and raise a family?
The cost of living is among the cheapest areas in the country. Fuel prices are cheap because let's pull it out of the ground there, so it should be. It's culturally changed a little bit. I remember OU is part of the Southeastern Conference now.
Oh,
And I would say right now, Oklahoma as a whole is culturally very similar to the Southeast. Whereas when I was a kid, culturally, it was probably more associated with the Southwest.
got it.
They, generally conservative. They vote very similar to people in the South. You can get fried okra. You have to say unsweet in a restaurant when you order tea if you don't want it sweet. So culturally, there is a shift to the South. It's Southern in a way that it never has been before, and I don't think that's just because of the conference the college is in now. I think culturally it's shifted.
Are you good with those changes?
Dude, I'm from the South.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I had this argument with a buddy from high school, like, we're as Southern as can be. It's, hey, brother, the National Western Heritage and Cowboy Hall of Fame is up by the zoo in Oklahoma City. Slow down.
Yeah.
We're not banjos just yet. But again, that shift, pretty seismic, frankly. Attitudes and culture, and it's shifting away from the West. And I don't think it's good or bad. I think it's just fascinating culturally and geographically to see that. Well, not so much geographically. To my knowledge, Oklahoma hasn't gotten up and moved, but certainly societally and culturally.
So, is it the same way up in Tulsa and places like Stillwater and things like that?
That's a good call. Tulsa and Oklahoma City, to be so close together, are really different. Tulsa's kind of that hill country, Arkansas kind of culture, which again is marginally Southern. So I think as a whole, I mean, there hasn't been a county in Oklahoma blue in a national election since I think 2004.
Got it.
So
It
it's
tells you everything you need to know about Oklahoma.
yeah. The biggest difference, honestly, is the barbecue. In Dixie, it's pork. The ribs are about a third of the size of those dinosaur ribs they have out in Oklahoma on the beef. And so it's jarring. It's jarring. Sometimes all the beef, you forget it's cattle country for sure. And it's just unique. I have a very warm place in my heart, a real fondness for that place.
I've not spent any time in central Oklahoma. My daughter did go to college and live up in Tulsa, so I'm familiar with that area. But so what you speak of, I have no knowledge of whatsoever,
Mm.
other than what I've seen driving from Arkansas to Muskogee up to Tulsa, and that's it.
The locals call that Muskogee.
Oh, sorry.
There was a pretty famous song about it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was a Freudian slip.
I'm not editing that out.
Yeah, no, we need to leave it. We need to hear the outrage, and then people will absolutely know that I'm not from that area.
Yeah. Did you hear the episode about the Diamond Ballroom?
I did.
I got a buddy named Michelle. Oh, the cheerleader that was being so sweet to me when I was being bullied in that episode.
Yes.
We're still buddies. And she almost got a sandwich sign and walked back and forth and protested about me not knowing what some hillbilly song was from that episode. She listened to the Diamond Ballroom, and she said, "How did you not know this Kenny Rogers song or whatever?" But I mean, Eddie Van Halen was on my wall, not Merle Haggard, when I was in high school. So
Exactly.
there's a reason why I'm familiar with it. And I can't say I'm a huge fan. I am now. I appreciate it more and more. The older I get older, the more I get older, but yeah, not really
The
at the
older you
time.
get older?
Yeah, that's what I said. I stand by that. The older I get older. I'm sick of your perfectionism.
Hey, I'm the one that said Muskegee. So.
I'm sick of your professionalism here.
Yeah.
Muskegee.
So, when you going back?
Soon, I hope. I got no problem with that place at all. I wouldn't think I would want to live there anymore, but I would. I got a lot of buddies there. The biggest difference, so was there a stark difference when you went back home to Ohio? When your parents' service?
There was, because my whole family still pretty much lives in the town that I grew up in North Central Ohio, and it was a industry town where they made snow plows and road rollers, the things, and it was huge. It was the one industry that most everybody in the town worked at, and then it got bought out and then shut down, and it killed the town. So now anybody that lives in that town, if they want gainful employment, they have to go somewhere else almost, unless they're a small mom and pop shop like an auto dealer or something like that, or a real estate agent. And the population has dropped, and it just looks almost the same and a little bit more run down than it did in the 70s and 80s. And it was depressing.
So your whole town is 12th Street and more?
Pretty much.
That's a shame. The biggest difference I found in Moore is there are more pot dispensaries than potheads. I mean, card-carrying medical patients.
That's right. Now, does Oklahoma, do they have, it's medical only, right?
Evidently. But judging by the sheer number of these places, you'd think my hometown was full of invalids and kidney patients, diabetics, chronic headache having, mild headache having, sickle cell, chronic baldness, hysterical pregnancy, low blood sugar, no blood sugar, acute dandruff, breakdance elbow. Like, you would think it was just a bunch of medical patients, but I don't see that. I see people just walking around, and maybe it's because of the 400,000 medical marijuana dispensaries that my little town is now home to.
I'm taking it that it's probably not real hard to get a medical marijuana card in Moore, Oklahoma.
Let me give you an example. There was, let me find it here. Looking on my phone. Golly. Yeah, like music directories, you could get your thumb and just spin it up, and then it just stops on a song. I can do that with these dispensaries here. Here's one that I think was a dentist's office on 12th Street when I was in school. It's now home of Wacky Backy Dispensary.
Nice.
Yeah. Each one has a goofier name than the one listed here.
Wacky Backy.
Flower Power, Okie Skunk,
Oh,
The Flame, something called Freedom Road, Green Plus. That sounds like a smoothie. Thunderbuds with a Z, of course.
Of course.
American Cannabis Company. That's nice. That's in the high rent district too, over there where on the south side.
America.
Native Harvest. I wonder if they have oh yeah, they've got an Arrowhead. A lot of buds spelled with a Z. Twisted Rue. I don't know what that is. Anyway, we got them in Moore, Oklahoma.
Nice. Congratulations.
So if you have chronic finger pain, skin failure, whatever ails you, they could take care of it. Anyway,
all right.
That's my trip back home. You know what I should have done? When I was in my old neighborhood, I should have knocked on the door and ask if I can go upstairs and get a couple of light bulbs out of the attic.
Yeah, you should have. I
Mm,
dare you.
That's
Next time,
that's a
I will give
shame.
you $25 cash if you do that.
Why are you always bribing me to do stupid crap?
Well, because I mean that's how it works.
Yeah, that is how it works. Eddie, Happy New Year, bud.
Happy New Year, Scott.
Thank you. All right, there you have it. A little under the weather this week, but we got through it. Got a few surprises coming this year, but one of them shouldn't be one of the subjects coming up. You know what's coming. Anyone in my age group that grew up in my part of town had the pleasure of attending a place called Highland East for their middle school years. We had a little unpleasantness with our basketball coach. It's part of a true crime, Gen X, ridiculous, but certainly part of what my age is known for. Nonsense happening, no counseling, just move on. I'll be telling the story of Coach Porterfield, or as we eventually called him, Batman. Stay tuned.